Hey everyone! In this video I'm going to shade this portrait using graphite pencils. The full material list will be listed under the video, and if you want to see how I drew the sketch, you can watch the previous video here on YouTube. I'm going to start by going over the darker parts in his eyes, going over the iris, going over the lash line. And this actually isn't a line, but you see that there's shadow here on this side. So I'm shading the left part. So if you jump right away to a darker pencil grade like the 6B or 8B, your drawing might look flat because the transitions from the highlights to the darker values also need soft transitions and not like highlight up dark value. So that's why I build up the layers gradually to achieve a more realistic look and to create more depth in your drawing. Because if you just have two values, one for the highlight, one for the darker parts in his skin, then your drawing will appear flat. So that's why I build up the layers. So this part above his eye, you see a highlight here, but then here you see some shadow. If I want to darken the value, I add another layer or I move on to the next pencil grade. So let the graphite do the work for you. Just glide your pencil back and forth over the paper with almost no pressure at all. So really light pressure every time with every layer. Let's see, I'm just going to use the soft tissue. Don't want to use the blending stump because it might turn out too dark right away. So let's smoothen this layer, and I go over it with circular movements, and also with really light pressure. I just let the tissue do its work. Also going over the whole eye, because you see that eyeball, it isn't purely white. So carefully take your time, build up your layers, and try to enjoy yourself. I feel like I say that more often, but it's really important, because if you keep on having that thought like, oh no, this won't turn out, oh, what am I doing? Try not to think about that. Try to stay in the process and try to change your mindset and change your thoughts and think, I'm doing the best as I can now, and we will eventually see how this turned out. And if something that didn't turn out as I hoped, then I learned something from it, and I will take that with me for the next drawings, because that's the only way you will learn. By doing it. You know the saying, be scared, do it anyway. That's so true. We all feel scared sometimes to do something, and well, this is just a drawing, so you might think, well, what can happen if it doesn't turn out? And you see this is the 8B, and graphite doesn't get really dark. Graphite is gray, so you won't get any black dark values with the graphite. So when I noticed that the 8B doesn't get any darker, I switched to the black pencil. And this part isn't really white. I'm just going over that. So this is the first layer. Don't really judge your drawing by the first layer. We need to keep on going. I'm also going to go over these shadows because I didn't blend them yet. I think we eventually will need to use the black pencil for the eyebrows, the lash, the iris. But I'm going to move on to his nose and then this part of his cheek, because it's easier to look at the values that way, because now this part looks really dark in comparison to the rest, to the white of the paper. But once we continue, it's easier to compare to the other values in his face. Keep on looking back and forth, see if you still have the shape correct. Now with the 6B, and be careful because like I have now, you see an outline. Make sure to blend that into the value of his lip. You don't want to see a darker outline. So with this step, I don't look at the last details yet, but I look at the highlights and all of the values. I'm going to darken this part here. So the graphite comes off the blending stump because I didn't clean it. So I'm just using that to shade So the highlight here is brighter than this highlight here. So we lost that. Let's just use the kneaded eraser to bring that back. So I shape the kneaded eraser to a point. So always after erasing, go over it with the blending stump or the soft tissue. You don't want to see these eraser lines. Smooth transitions. And his nostril. Use light pressure with the black pencil because you can also add 2 or 3 layers with the black pencil, so you don't want to darken right away. So here is where you will see beard. So you can just fill in this whole area. This will be the under layer, because for the darkest parts in the beard we're going to use the black pencil. And you see small highlights in between the beard. So you might even use the eraser for that, to create those highlights, because you can't just shade around all of those spots to leave it white. And for the ear, you're going to just look back and forth at your reference photo. Where do you see the darks? You see here shadow. So I start with the midtones and then go darker where I need to for the shadows, and then I look at the highlights and bring them back. So I'm going to hold my pencil more to the back because the skin is a bit smoother. I shade with a bit back and forth movements, but also if I go slowly, this is how I shade. That will help you get a smoother effect. And while I shade, I keep turning my pencil once in a while to keep my pencil tip sharp. And because his beard is dark, you might think, oh, I'm just going to start with black pencil. But you also see different values in his beard. So that's why I also build up the layers. So I'm shading around. So here you see a shadow. Shading around those areas where you see a highlight. And you see a highlight, but also some of his beard. And every layer I use light pressure. Remember that, because with light pressure you will be able to keep on adding more layers. If you use hard pressure, you will limit yourself, because then the graphite starts to become really shiny and won't be able to layer over that. In the reference photo, I compare the values. I check this shadow and I see that in the reference photo it's the same value as the nostril. So that means I will also use the black for this, the darkest shadows in the ear. And then I'm going to add the highlights. So that's also a great way how to look for values. You can compare them with the others in the reference photo. That way you can also compare them in your drawing as well. So that's what I like about the blending stump. I just use it as a tool to add some graphite where I need it to be a bit darker. Make sure you're using circular movements. So make sure that you have smooth transitions from those different values you see in the neck, because if you have these hard edges from one value to the other, then it would look like he just has all the kinds of spots on his neck instead of shadow areas. Okay, now let's just blend this. I use the blending stump and just blend this all. So that will make those strokes look a bit more softer. And let's see, this a bit darker. I'm going to start with the 4B because here you see some of his skin showing through here at this part. So I'm just going to roughly shade in a first layer of graphite. Okay, now let's just start using the black pencil, and I'm going to start here and then draw the first layer with circular motion. Okay, so I'm just going over his beard until I think it looks good. Adding some darker value where I see it's darker on the beard. Drawing some more texture. Just keep on going until you're satisfied. Okay, so just adding the final details, added some darker value to the back. Drawing on camera can always look a bit different than your drawing in real life. So the values on the camera are just a bit brighter. So I might just make a photo. If you also want to learn how to draw portraits, you can join the membership. My step-by-step art tutorials are easy to understand, and you will also be able to ask me questions or ask for feedback whenever you get stuck. I'm already seeing a lot of improvement from the members just after going through the first stage about learning the basics. I hope to see you there, and thank you for watching.